If you're tired of surface-level history and want the truth behind the front lines, subscribe now. Today, we're breaking open a forgotten piece of the past. Because sometimes the most important battlefield innovations weren't tanks, bombs, or rifles. Sometimes they were quiet pieces of equipment that never made headlines, yet decided who lived and who didn't. On June 6, 1944, as American soldiers crouch inside landing craft off the coast of Normandy, the most valuable armour many of them carried wasn't wrapped around their chest. It sat on their heads, weighed just over 3 pounds, and cost the U. Why modern warfare needed a new kind of helmet. World War I taught armies a brutal lesson. Most battlefield casualties didn't come from bullets fired straight at soldiers. They came from fragments. Artillery shells detonated and sprayed steel horizontally at head height. The US Army entered that war wearing the M1917 helmet, a modified British design with a wide brim meant to stop falling debris. It worked reasonably well for shrapnel from above, but it failed catastrophically against fragments moving sideways. The sides and back of the head were exposed, and medical reports showed head wounds killing soldiers the helmet was never designed to stop. After the war, the Army knew a redesign was necessary, but, it didn't come from an ordnance lab. How medieval armour shaped a 20th century battlefield. The solution, interestingly enough, came from Bashford Dean, curator of arms and armour at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Dean had spent his life studying medieval warfare, where combat happened in tight formations with threats coming from every direction. He understood something that, honestly, modern designers had missed. Head protection needed coverage, not just thickness. Dean developed experimental helmets with deeper bowls and extended skirts to protect the sides and back of the skull. His designs worked, but unfortunately they were rejected for political reasons. Some officers felt the shape resembled German helmets too closely. Dean died in 1928 without seeing his ideas adopted, but, his work remained in Army files. So, why did America finally pay attention in 1940? Well, as war erupted across Europe and, the Pacific seemed increasingly threatening, the Army took another look at Dean's helmet designs. Major Harold Sydenham actually led the charge to modernise the helmet, aiming to better protect the troops. Engineers got to work, trimming down the old M1917 profile, adding a short visor and extending both side and rear protection. But here's the real breakthrough. They introduced a pretty radical concept. Instead of just a single steel helmet, they designed a two-piece system. The steel shell would absorb impact, while a separate liner would handle comfort, fit, and shock absorption. This clever approach meant soldiers could remove the steel shell for certain tasks without taking off their headgear entirely. Plus, if a liner got damaged, it could be replaced cheaply without needing to throw away the whole helmet. Now let's talk about the steel itself, because it really mattered more than just the thickness. The helmet, which was called the M1, was made from Hadfield manganese steel, an alloy with a rather unique property. Under sudden impact, it actually hardened. When struck by shrapnel, the steel's molecular structure tightened up, resisting penetration instead of cracking. Quite remarkable, isn't it? The helmet didn't actually need to stop rifle bullets to save lives. Its real job was to deflect fragments, slow down glancing blows, and crucially, prevent skull fractures. Testing revealed that the helmet could stop pistol rounds, and, well, most shell fragments too. Sure, it wasn't invincible, but then again, it didn't have to be. What mattered most was reducing lethality, and that it did. Now, let's talk about how American industry managed to provide protection on such a massive scale. McCord Radiator Manufacturing, based in Detroit, retooled almost overnight. Imagine that. A factory once devoted to making car parts suddenly began stamping helmets from single sheets of steel, all drawn in a single press to eliminate seams and weak points. Each helmet shell was heat-treated, inspected, and stamped with traceable batch numbers. By the year 1943, production had soared to over 7 million helmets per year. That's more than 20,000 helmets every single day. And remarkably, everyone was identical. Everyone was reliable. So when soldiers landed in Normandy, nearly all of them wore one. So, what did the helmet actually do on the battlefield? Well, medical data from World War II showed a sharp drop in fatal head injuries compared to World War I. Soldiers survived artillery barrages that honestly would have killed them a generation earlier. Helmets came back dented, gouged and scarred, having absorbed impacts meant for human skulls. The helmet wasn't meant to stop a rifle round at close range. Physics made that impossible without, unbearable weight. Instead, it addressed the real killer of modern battlefields, indirect fire. Now, why did soldiers trust it beyond protection? The M1 became more than just armour. Its shape and durability made it endlessly useful. Soldiers used it to carry water, wash clothes, cook food, dig shallow earth, and even bail flooded foxholes. The liner alone served as lightweight head protection for military police and instructors. In the Ardennes, in the Pacific jungles, and later in Korea and Vietnam, the helmet adapted because soldiers adapted it. It was strong enough to endure abuse and simple enough to trust. Why did the M1 last for 4 decades? Well, the design changed very little from 1941 to 1985. Chin straps evolved, liners improved, but the core idea remained untouched. When the Army finally replaced it with Kevlar, soldiers acknowledged the improvement in protection, but honestly, they missed the rugged versatility. You couldn't cook in the new helmet, and you couldn't beat it into shape and just keep going. What this teaches serious students of warfare is, well, quite profound. The M1 helmet wasn't revolutionary because it was complex. It was revolutionary because it was honest. It acknowledged how soldiers actually died and addressed that reality directly. It balanced protection, weight, and utility better than any helmet before or since. For those who study combat, the lesson is clear. The most effective military innovations don't chase perfection. They solve the right problem at the right scale. If this kind of frontline truth matters to you, subscribe to Warfare Frontlines and share this story. These are the details that quietly decide wars.